Initially, we immediately got into an emergency posture, began the emergency repairs, and so within 24 hours of starting the job, they had access to Longboat Key restored, so that's a long stretch, and are ahead of schedule on the rest of that. So we look forward to being able to open Gulf Drive entirely ahead of schedule. Taylor County. So we have provided emergency requests, response to emergency requests in the following: 7 truckloads of water, 10 pallets of food, 2 truckloads of MREs, 6 comfort stations, including a shower trailer, bathroom trailer, laundry trailer, a water tanker, Starlink internet, light towers, mobile EOC command unit, generators, a fuel truck for those generators, a forklift, food for the animal shelter, which is very important, medical supplies, 50 radios. We're also currently mobilizing missions to Taylor County to provide large rooftops, traffic message board, additional comfort stations, fuel distribution for Steinhatchee and Horseshoe Beach, and 22 oxygen regulators. So I want to thank Kevin and his team for getting those done very, very quickly. I mean, you know, the reality is, there's definitely parts of this country you wouldn't have seen that for weeks if a storm like this hit. So thanks for working very hard. Housing. When you have a storm, this magnitude, you had a lot of the homes on the coast, particularly in the Big Bend. It's interesting. I'd go to some of these places, and after Idalia, there was obviously some damage, but there were some homes, particularly the ones that were high, that were fine. Some of those same homes that were fine during Idalia and after Idalia, I saw totally destroyed, just a slab of concrete. So this is going to be a massive effort. The state's collaborating with county emergency management partners to open recovery shelters throughout the impacted area, so you can be connected to resources and assistant teams to assist with finding solutions to any barriers that may exist. We're also working now with the Department of Emergency Management, and they are working to provide travel trailers for people to live while on their property. So some homes are totally gone, which is obviously a very tragic thing. There's other homes that had major flooding. Maybe they have to muck and gut the interior. You don't want to have to travel an hour and sleep and then come back to work on your homes. They put a travel trailer right there on your property, and you're able to do that. You can work. You have people come in. You supervise that. It's much better. I think people like that better. So we've mobilized hundreds of trailers around the state, and we're willing to get hundreds of more if needed. If you need a travel trailer to be brought to your property, you can go through Hope, Florida. The Hope line is now 24/7, and the number is 833-GET-HOPE, 833-GET-HOPE. You can request a travel trailer, and Hope, Florida will work with Kevin and his team to get that done. We also have Hope buses that are now available for in-person service for communities impacted by the storm. On Saturday, and almost immediately after the storm, we had Hope buses deployed to Taylor and Madison counties, also Pasco and Manatee over the weekend. Now we have 5 Hope buses. Bridge Church in Madison, 9 a.m. to 12. Alton Church of God Family Life Center in Mayo, 12 to 5. Steinhatchee Community Center, 10 to 4. State College of Florida in Bradenton, 12 to 5. James P. Gill's Family YMCA of West Pasco and Trinity, 10 to 2. So if you do go to the Hope, you can call the Hope line too. You don't have to go to the bus, but if you go to the bus, what they will be able to do is link you with resources that are available, not just government resources and not even primarily government resources. We were with Operation Rubicon in Pasco County. Got a lot of need for muck and guts there. They perform those services. There's other services that are available, and we're going to funnel that all through Hope, Florida. So the Hope buses are there, and they'll be coming to other places as well. Our State Housing Initiative partnership, every year we fund this, and it is to help with temporary relocation, rental assistance, debris removal, home repairs. This isn't even necessarily only for storms. This is something we do anyways. If you want to look for SHIP resources, go to floridahousing.org, floridahousing.org. FEMA has granted individual assistance to a number of Florida counties, including Charlotte, Citrus, Dixie, Franklin, Hernando, Hillsborough, Jefferson, Lafayette, Lee, Levy, Madison, Manatee, Pasco, Pinellas, Sarasota, Taylor, and Wakulla counties. We've also been approved for public assistance for those counties and more. And we also have hazard mitigation grant programs. You are eligible, the counties in the state of Florida, to apply for those grants. Now, today, we're pleased to make the following announcement. As you see, there's damage to homes, but also damages to businesses. And so you look at Roy's Restaurant, very important part of the community, very important restaurant here for so many folks. That got hammered by the storm. They're not able to operate out of the restaurant right now, and they're going to need major rebuilding. And Linda Wicker, the owner, has vowed to rebuild. But in the meantime, they wanted to try to figure out what options they have to be able to stay afloat. So they wanted to utilize a food truck that's been donated to them to be able to host restaurant operations from that site. I know a lot of people will rally. I know a lot of our first responders and will eat there. They'll spend a lot of money there, so it could be very good. But you have bureaucracy. And so the bureaucracy was saying, well, we don't know. That's not the way to do it. And my message is I don't have time for bureaucracy. We don't have time for red tape. So we are here to announce that I've directed the Department of Business and Professional Regulation to issue an emergency order so that businesses like Roy's that were devastated in Hurricane Helene and want to be creative can stay in business. DBPR's emergency order will allow Roy's food truck to quickly begin serving food and drinks to patrons while they're rebuilding their standing restaurant. We want businesses to be able to return to normal operations as soon as possible, but in the meantime, we want them to be able to stay in business and for patrons to be able to get back to a normal life as quickly as possible. So this executive order gets government out of the way and allows people to get the job done. We also now, we always do housing with hotels, pre-storm evacuation. We're keeping that open through Visit Florida, the emergency accommodation module on Expedia Priceline. Now, obviously, Taylor County, the options aren't as much as, people had to flee from Treasure Island over in the Tampa Bay area. There's a lot of hotels in that greater area where you could take advantage of. So this will probably be better for some than others, but nevertheless, that's continue to be up and running. We also have our small business emergency loan program. So that's $15 million in a zero-interest loan and very flexible repayment options on that one. And you're eligible for up to $50,000. And so if you need cash flow, that's probably going to be the most generous thing that's out there, certainly from the state, for you to be able to do. And if you want to be able to look and apply for that, you can go to www.floridajobs.org/EBL for that. We also have activated the Florida Disaster Relief Fund. This is our official private charitable fund to assist Florida communities as they respond and recover during times of emergency or disaster. This is a partnership with the public sector, private sector, and other non-government organizations to support response and recovery. And this has been something that's been very flexible. So, for example, you can use Florida Disaster Fund to help fund some of these organizations that are rehabbing homes. We've done that. We've also used it to fund educational organizations that were helping teachers who were displaced, or law enforcement charities that help police that had their homes, or firefighters that had their homes destroyed. Because, a lot of these guys that have to serve the public, it's not like they're immune from damage. So that's been used for a variety of ways, particularly with Hurricane Ian. If you want to make a tax-deductible donation, you can go to floridadisasterfund.org and do that, and all that money goes straight to helping people. There's no bureaucracy and red tape. And I know the First Lady, I think she got in Ian, she got the credit card fees, processing fees waived. I think they probably are doing that again, so we're thankful for that. We had a very efficient storm response. We had massive storm surge. It was life-threatening. The fact that, Wayne and everybody here no fatalities in Taylor County is honestly remarkable when you consider how high this storm surge was. And, you know, the bottom line with storm surge, you could have a Category 5 wind. If you hunker down and you're covered in a place, you potentially can ride that out. You can't ride out 15 or 20 feet of storm. It's just too powerful, and it's destructive. And so we had massive numbers of resources staged. Locals had resources to make emergency response and rescues. And there were thousands of missions between municipal, county, and state agencies that were effectively discharged right after the storm. And a lot of lives were saved. And that's great. We also, after that initial push, we did not have continuing calls for emergency response. We did not have continuing calls for rescue. That had been done, and we were in a good spot there. So we've been focusing, obviously, on stabilization, power restoration, getting people the relief that they need, and then getting them on the path to rebuild. But we also have seen this storm do a lot of damage in other parts of the country, and particularly when you get up into the mountainous terrain of western North Carolina. And as damaging as you see around here, it's important to acknowledge that they are in really dire straits right now. When you have roads totally washed out, bridges totally gone, you have whole communities that have basically been wiped off the map because it's very rugged terrain. So what they're now facing is you can't get out of some of these communities. You can't just drive cars in. Most of the roads are impassable, and people need relief. And so that's something that as Americans we should all be concerned about. It's also a fact that you go to western North Carolina, particularly in the summertime, it's basically like Florida North. Half the people there are from Florida, and all these communities, they're beautiful communities, and it's not humid, so you can see why people do it. Now, a lot of Floridians, by the time Labor Day comes, they do come back to Florida. If this had happened in August, there would have been tens of thousands of Floridians, but there's still Floridians there. And so we want to make sure that we understand the storm had impacts far beyond our borders, and it's impacting Floridians in the North Carolina and Tennessee mountains. So we launched this weekend Operation Blue Ridge. This is a multi-state agency response, including the Division of Emergency Management, our Florida State Guard, our Florida National Guard, our Department of Transportation, our Fish and Wildlife Commission, and Florida Law Enforcement Coordination Task Force to go up and to effectuate rescues of people who are not able to get out of those areas. And what's going to happen is they don't have a lot of power to restore that. I don't know how they're going to do. It's hard to get supplies in. The only way really is by air in some of those places. And so just like we did when October 7th happened and Floridians were caught up in the Israel-Hamas war, just like we did when Haiti started going even more haywire than normal, we authorized rescue missions to be able to bring people back to the state of Florida. So we are doing that now in the state of North Carolina. If you have Floridians that need help and need evacuation, you can go to floridadisaster.org/Operation Blue Ridge. floridadisaster.org/Operation Blue Ridge. We have Chinook helicopters that are available. Now, those are bigger birds, and so you got to have a place to land it. Some of these areas may be even tighter than that, and so we'll be using other assets to be able to maybe get into some tighter areas to be able to bring some people to safety. So Operation Blue Ridge, go to floridadisaster.org/Operation Blue Ridge. I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this response. Obviously, we've got a lot more to do, but people have worked around the clock. The response has been very efficient and effective, and we're going to continue to do all we can to help the people, not just here in Taylor County, but throughout the state of Florida and beyond. Okay, Kevin Guthrie, Division of Emergency Management.
Thank you, Governor. I want to thank the Governor for jumping into action when we knew this storm was coming, and for continuing to stand alongside not just the Florida Division of Emergency Management, but the many, many agencies, nonprofits, and state agencies, local agencies that make up the state emergency response team. Governor, it's because of your leadership that we're able to get this job done and do it very effectively and efficiently. As of this morning, the state emergency response team has completed nearly 1,000 missions, and we're working on nearly 2,000 more. Urban search and rescue teams will finish all operations in Florida today. And I want to thank, and I want everybody to thank, just in a round of applause in a second, to the men and women, the urban search and rescue teams, but also Florida Fish and Wildlife Special Operations, as well as district personnel, the Florida National Guard, Florida Highway Patrol, Major, I see you back there, and the many, many Palm Beach counties here, incident management team, all of those first responders that have come here and helped us out, leaving their families behind. I just wanted to say thank you, and we appreciate every one of you. Many loved ones are still disconnected, and we want to continue to preach. If you're disconnected and you need to reunify, call the American Red Cross reunification line at 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's 1-800-733-2767. There's a lot of debris left from this storm, and it is essential that when we clean up, you can help us expedite that if you will separate your debris into specific piles. What we're asking you to do, vegetation into one pile, structural, this will be your furniture, your construction and demolition debris into another pile, your household hazardous waste. So the bleaches, the vinegars, the cleaning products, the fuel, the gasoline, put it into a separate pile. Then put your electronics, your TVs, things like that into a pile, and then your white goods, your appliances into a separate pile. We have to separate that stuff. It cannot go in together. If you can help us get that done at the road's edge, we can get that done faster. So please make sure you're helping us out with that. Make sure you're wearing appropriate safety gear when you're cleaning up. If you come across down power lines, please report them. If you receive damage to your home, you should have taken pictures before you clean up. If you haven't done that, please do that already. Your insurance company is going to ask for them. FEMA is going to ask for them. So please make sure you're taking those pictures. Make sure you get any pictures of high water marks. If you need assistance with cleanup, our crisis cleanup line is open. They will help send people to your house to help you clean up. That phone number is 1-844-965-1386. 844-965-1386. Do not get wrapped up with anybody that looks sketchy and is trying to get cash money from you. There are a lot of uniforms and badges around this town right now. If that happens and you think you need to report it, go ahead and report it. Any of the men and women of the State Emergency Response Team, that includes all of our state agencies, our Florida National Guard, our Florida State Guard, your local law enforcement, make sure you're reporting that. You can always, through the Department of Business Professional Regulation under Melanie's group, can always check a contractor's license by going to myfloridalicense.com, and then you can report that unlicensed activity at 866-532-1440. Again, 866-532-1440. We have 30 points of distribution that are open today. The Leon County ones, because I know we're in that media market right now, the Leon County ones will close today at close of business. So we will be going down, but they have shelf-stable food, water, and other items that you may need. I know that many of you do the right thing and you have a preparedness kit, and you've gone through everything in your preparedness kit. So if you need more food and water, you can go to a point of distribution and get that and replenish your kit right now. So please make sure you're doing that. Individual assistance is available for residents of 17 counties that the governor enumerated earlier. You can get signed up at one of 3 locations. Visit disasterassistance.gov, download the FEMA app, or call 1-800-621-3362. Our state assistance information line is still taking calls 24/7. If you need information, all the information I just dumped here, you can go to one location and get all of it. That's our state assistance information line at 1-800-342-3557. For a full list of resources, please make sure you're going to floridadisaster.org for updates. I will also say we, the Florida Division of Emergency Management, have people here on the ground. And if you I'm going to ask them to raise their hands, but both my regional recovery coordinator and my regional coordinator that are assigned to this area, Glenn Hammers and Christian Rivera, are over here to the side. If when the governor and I leave, you have questions, these two guys can help you out. They will sit here and answer as many questions as you want them to answer. Governor, as always, thank you for your leadership and trust in me and the agency, and we look forward to continuing the good work we're doing.
I'm not very good at this, but thank you all for coming. First of all, I want to thank the Lord for our safety. And Governor DeSantis, oh my gosh, I cannot say enough. If every state had a governor like him, our country would be so much better. Ooh. Thank y'all for being here. We're going to do everything we can to get back up and going. Our community is suffering. Let's all help one another. One little funny thing, maybe, or it was to us, we have a new hashtag. It's hashtag MRGA, make Roy's great again. So we're going to go with that. Thank y'all so much. Oh, I love you.
I love you guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now, because I know, what's the time frame on your portable? You can do that pretty quickly, or what?
I think so, probably a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Get that off. And no, not because you're delaying us, that's our delay.
Yeah.
Because we've got so many really.
Oh yeah, no. From our perspective, you can start now. Like, don't worry. You've got executive grace on that. Just start whenever you want on that. We are going to be serving. We got Chick-fil-A here. They're going to be serving hot meals for people. So we're going to go in there and serve some of those. So if you all want some Chick-fil-A, then I definitely suggest you get in line. I mean, like, you go to almost any Chick-fil-A in Florida, there's like a line of cars that stretches a mile wide. And they're very quick about getting it through the drive-through. They're very well trained on that. But in Tallahassee, they have like one right across the street from another because they have so many people. So it's a real treat to have them here offering that. Okay, we got any questions before I go? Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we do not have time for bureaucracy. I don't want to deal with red tape. And quite frankly, if you look at how we've responded to hurricanes, certainly in the last 5 or 6 years, that's been like the number one thing. Like, just do it, okay? We have something coming, let's prepare, and then let's respond. And we'll worry about the bureaucracy later. And so that's been our approach across the board. And so anything we can do to pave the pathway for people to get back on their feet, we absolutely have to do that. There's a role for having certain regulations in normal life, fine. But when you have extenuating circumstances like this, we cannot try to prevent somebody from getting back on their feet at all from a government perspective. So we're clearing the bureaucracy out, and we want people to be able to get the job done. And I know this is going to be good. People are going to come, they're going to be able to stay afloat, and I think you're going to see a lot. And I know our folks who are here helping with the recovery, they're going to be frequenting it as well. So Linda says may take a couple weeks for them to get situated, everything they need, but as soon as they're ready, they can go. They could go today if they want to. We are making sure that that is the case. I was in the air when President Joe Biden called, so I wasn't able to talk to him yesterday. What I would say is Florida, we have it handled. We got approved for the individual assistance things we've wanted. We have what we need. Now, obviously, there may be additional things that we'll ask for in the future. It depends on how things shake out. But I think most of the effort should be in Western North Carolina right now because you still have active rescues that need to take place. I mean, just think about, it's almost like if this area were totally cut off and every road was destroyed and all this, but you can still get places by boat. There, you can't do that. You're in, and I just think they should really, the federal government should focus on that. we're running rescue flights. We're happy to do it, but I know the federal government has more assets than the state of Florida has. So there should not be anybody left behind in those communities. Clearly, Florida residents who are still there, most of them stay. If they stay 6 months or less than 6 months, usually by October, mid-October is when they start coming back. So a lot of them would want to come back anyways. So we have our Operation Blue Ridge. We are going to be doing that. We're going to be bringing people to safety. If we have a smaller bird, you may not be able to take as many people. The Chinook, what is that, 40 packs we can do? We could do 40 packs on a Chinook helicopter. So that may be just like maybe one whole neighborhood in these areas. And I know there's a lot of Floridians that go up there, but there's probably a lot of Floridians that have never been to those mountains. And what I will tell you is it's very pretty. It's very refreshing because there's no humidity, but it is very ragged. I mean, they build these roads, and, it is not necessarily easy to get around all the time. It's not well lit all the time. It's just a different lifestyle. And so when you have something like this happen, to sever the roads and the bridges and a lot of the things that happen, I mean, basically, I don't think they have any major way to even get out of a lot of those Western North Carolina places right now. That's going to require us doing the air mission. So that's why we're doing it. And I know, Kevin, we've had people sign up already. Yeah, so Kevin and his team are doing that. And, you're going to see people be brought back on our mission very, very shortly. And we're happy to do it. I mean, look, if we can bring people back from Israel by the hundreds when Hamas is raining rockets down, we should be able to get some helos into the Blue Ridge Mountains and get people out of there. But, yeah, I think that just from a response perspective, this here is very important. We're going to be there, but they didn't have any fatalities. I think in North Carolina, whatever fatalities have been reported, I think that's probably just scratching the surface of what's possible if we don't get people in there and get them out to safety. And if you think about it, it's like you could throw me there for 5 days, whatever, food and water, but you have like a child with special needs, you have a senior that is power dependent, you have this stuff, you run out of time very quickly. And so I think this, just looking at everything that I've seen in the information, I think that is where they need to make sure everybody is brought to safety. I mean, as bad as it is to see a restaurant hammered or see homes, you don't want loss of life. That is the one thing we can't rectify. We can always rectify property. We can rectify infrastructure. You can't rectify the loss of life. And, my fear is just having those areas cut off. It's a very difficult mission. So we're in the mission. We're in the fight. We're going to be bringing people back to safety, and we'll keep doing that as long as it's necessary. All right, let's go eat some Chick-fil-A.
I'm in the pickup truck. I'm in the pickup truck.
And what happened with
and Governor Kemp of Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, county officials in the Big Bend region of Florida, and other leaders in South Carolina and Tennessee about the broad and devastating impacts of Hurricane Helene. It's not just a catastrophic storm, it's a historic, history-making storm. The entire Southeast and Appalachia. Damage from the hurricane stretches across at least 10 states. Winds over 120 miles an hour in some places. Storm surges up to 15 feet and record flooding. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay. Communities are devastated. Loved ones waiting, not sure if their loved ones are okay, as they can't contact them because there's no cell phone connections. Many more folks displaced with no idea when they'll be able to be returned to the home, if ever, if there's a home to return to. So we're keeping them all in our prayers, and all the lives lost, and those particularly unaccounted for. There's nothing like wondering, is my husband, wife, son, daughter, mother, father alive? And many more who remain without electricity, water, food, and communications. And whose homes and businesses have washed away in an instant. I want them to know we're not leaving until the job is done. I also want you to know I'm committed to traveling to the impacted areas as soon as possible, but I've been told that it would be disruptive if I did it right now. We will not do that at the risk of diverting or delaying any of the response assets needed to deal with this crisis. My first responsibility is to get all the help needed to those impacted areas. And I expect to be there, excuse me, I have a cold. I expect to be there later this week. I and my team are in constant contact with the governors, mayors, and local leaders. The head of FEMA, Deanne Griswold, is on the ground now in North Carolina. She's going to stay in Asheville and Appalachia region for the foreseeable future. There's been reports of over 100 dead and consequence of this storm, and there are reports of up to 600 people unaccounted for because they can't be contacted. God willing, they're alive, but there's no way to contact them again because of the lack of cell phone coverage. I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding. In addition to FEMA, it includes the Federal Communications Commission to help establish communications capability, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Defense are going to provide all the resources at its disposal to rescue and assist in clearing debris and delivering life-saving supplies. So far, that's over 3,600 personnel deployed. That number is growing by the day. I quickly approved requests from governors of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, and Alabama for an emergency declaration. And I approved additional requests for the governors of North Carolina, Florida, South Carolina, and for a disaster declaration to pay for debris removal and provide financial assistance directly to survivors. FEMA and the Small Business Administration are there to help the residents whose homes and businesses were literally destroyed, washed away, or blown away. And the federal search and rescue teams have been working side by side with state and local officials and partners in very treacherous conditions to find those who are missing. And they'll not rest until everyone's accounted for. I want to thank all the first responders and everyone who's been working around the clock. One of the brave teams who's volunteered to be there is from San Diego County Fire Department, set to travel all the way from California to North Carolina to help. But on their way, they were in a terrible car accident in Louisiana. We pray for their full recovery, but it was a bad accident. We know there's more to do, and we'll continue to surge resources, including food, water, communications, and life-saving equipment. We'll be there, as I said before, and I mean it, as long as it takes to finish this job. Let me close with this. As president, I've seen firsthand the devastating toll that disasters like this take on families and communities. I've been on the ground in many disaster areas since I've been president. Excuse me, and I've heard dozens of stories from survivors about how it feels to be left with nothing, not even knowing where or when to get back on track. I'm here to tell every single survivor in these impacted areas that we will be there with you as long as it takes. For the sake of yourselves, excuse me, and your families, I urge everyone returning to their communities and home to listen to the local officials and follow all safety instructions. Take this seriously. Please be safe. Your nation has your back, and the Biden-Harris administration will be there until the job is done. God bless you all, and I'm thinking of those that are still wondering where your loved ones are. Thank you.
Will you need to supplemental to help the people in the Southeast, Mr. President?
Say again?
Will you need to ask Congress for a supplemental?
That's my expectation, yes.
Do you know roughly how much you're thinking?
Not yet. This is a historic storm. It's devastating. They've never seen anything like this before. And some of them are back-to-back, 3 storms in a row. So it's really, really devastating.
Would you consider asking Congress to come back for a special session to pass a supplemental?
That is something I may have to request, but no decision's been made yet.
Do you have a sense of where you'll go when you are able to go, sir?
Yes, I told the governor of North Carolina to go down, and I expect to be down there by Wednesday or Thursday. It would be clear for me to go. You guys have traveled with me. You know, there's an entourage. This can be disruptive.
Is there a mistake for President Trump to be down there today in Georgia? Was that disruptive?
I don't have any idea.
On another issue, on the other side of the world in the Middle East, it's our understanding...
I'm going to stick with this.
What's that?
I'm going to stick with this subject, but go ahead.
Well, it's just the fact that Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plan?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now. Thank
Do
you.
you expect Iran to retaliate?
On the hurricane, Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I commanded. It's called a telephone.
Is it
all my security.
Is it not important for the country to see